Ancient Rome was a powerful civilization that shaped the course of human history. From its architectural marvels to its infamous gladiatorial games, Rome's influence can still be seen today. In this video, we'll dive into the world of ancient Rome, exploring the lives of gladiators, the Colosseum, punishment methods, society structure, and the eventual collapse of this mighty empire. Welcome to life's biggest questions. Now that that's been said, let's continue. Gladiatorial games were a popular form of entertainment in ancient Rome, featuring brutal combat for the amusement of the public. Gladiators were often slaves, prisoners of war, or condemned criminals who were trained to fight. There were various types of gladiators, each with their own unique weapons, armor, and fighting styles, which made the games more engaging and unpredictable for the spectators. A heavily armored gladiator, who fought with a sword, gladius, and a large rectangular shield, scutum. They often wore a distinctive helmet with a high crest and a visor, as well as leg guards and arm protection. Murmillos typically faced off against other heavily armored gladiators like the Intrigues or the Hoplomachus. This gladiator fought with a trident and a net, wearing minimal armor for greater agility. The Retiarius had a unique fighting style, attempting to ensnare their opponents with the net before striking with the trident. They often fought against heavily armored opponents like the Murmillo or the Secutor. Inspired by the Thracian warriors, the Thrax fought with a curved sword called a Sika and a small square or rectangular shield. They wore a helmet with a wide brim, a small breastplate, and leg guards. The Thrax relied on agility and precision to overcome their opponents, often targeting vulnerable areas not protected by armor. Modeled after Greek hoplites, the Hoplomachus was equipped with a spear, a small round shield, and a dagger for close combat. They wore a helmet with a small crest, a small breastplate, and leg guards. Their fighting style focused on maintaining distance from their opponents using the spear before closing in for the kill with the dagger. Designed to fight against the Retiarius, the Secutor was a heavily armored gladiator similar to the Murmillo. They wielded a sword and a large rectangular shield and wore a distinctive smooth helmet with small eye holes to prevent the Retiarius's net from getting caught. Their strategy was to close the distance with their nimble opponent and overpower them with their superior armor and strength. The Eques gladiators fought on horseback, initially using a lance for charging at their opponents and a small round shield for protection. Once they were dismounted, they would continue the fight on foot with a sword. Equites wore tunics and helmets adorned with feathers, and they often faced other Eques gladiators. The Dimachus type of gladiator wielded two swords, one in each hand, which required great skill and agility. The Dimachus wore minimal armor, often only a small breastplate and arm guards in order to maintain their mobility. Their fighting style relied on rapid attacks and evasive maneuvers to outmaneuver their opponents. Life as a gladiator was harsh and dangerous, with a constant risk of death or injury. Despite this, successful gladiators could achieve considerable fame and fortune, becoming heroes to the masses and garnering the admiration of the Roman public. Gladiators lived and trained in specialized schools called ludus, where they were managed by a lanista, who bought, sold, and trained them. Life in a ludus was strict, with gladiators following a rigorous training regimen to hone their skills. They practiced with wooden swords and dummy opponents, learning techniques to disarm, disable, and kill their opponents. The gladiators' diet was designed to build strength and endurance. They often consumed a high-calorie diet rich in carbohydrates and protein, which included a mixture of barley, wheat, and legumes. This diet was often supplemented with meat, fish, and cheese to provide the necessary nutrients for their demanding physical training. Despite the brutality of their profession, gladiators had access to some of the best medical care in ancient Rome. Doctors were present at the ludus to treat injuries and provide general health care. These physicians were skilled in a wide range of treatments, including setting broken bones, stitching wounds, and administering pain-relieving medications. While many gladiators were slaves or prisoners, some were free men who chose to become gladiators in pursuit of wealth and fame. Successful gladiators could earn considerable sums of money through their victories, and they often attracted a large following of fans. The most famous gladiators were even commemorated in artwork, with their images appearing on pottery, mosaics, and frescoes. Gladiators also had a unique social standing within Roman society. Despite being viewed as entertainers and often stigmatized for their profession, they were still admired for their courage, skill, and physical prowess. This admiration often extended beyond the arena, with gladiators becoming the subjects of romantic fascination and even inspiring devotion from their fans. While the life expectancy of a gladiator was short, with many dying in the arena, those who survived and gained fame could eventually earn their freedom. They were awarded a wooden sword called a rudis, which symbolized their retirement from the arena. Many retired gladiators went on to become gladiator trainers or bodyguards for wealthy patrons. Some even entered politics or business, using their fame and connections to forge new careers outside of the arena. In summary, the life of a gladiator was a mix of danger, discipline, and potential glory. While they faced immense challenges and a high likelihood of death, the possibility of fame, fortune, and eventual freedom attracted many to this brutal and unforgiving profession. The Colosseum, also known as the Flavian Amphitheatre, was the largest amphitheatre in the Roman Empire and a marvel of ancient engineering. Completed in 80 AD under the rule of Emperor Titus, it could hold up to 50,000 spectators and was the primary venue for gladiatorial games and other public spectacles in ancient Rome. The Colosseum's elliptical design provided optimal viewing angles for spectators, with tiered seating arranged according to social status. The highest-ranking citizens, such as senators and members of the imperial family, sat in the front rows, while lower-ranking citizens and slaves were relegated to the upper tiers. An enormous retractable awning system called the velarium covered the Colosseum to provide shade for spectators during hot summer days. The velarium was made of canvas and was supported by a complex system of ropes and pulleys, operated by a team of sailors who were specially employed for this task. The Colosseum featured a complex system of underground tunnels and chambers called the hypogeum, where gladiators, slaves, and animals were held before their performances. The hypogeum was equipped with ingenious devices, such as elevators and trapdoors, which allowed for the rapid and dramatic entrance of gladiators and animals into the arena. One of the most remarkable features of the Colosseum was its ability to be flooded for the staging of mock naval battles called naumachiae. The arena floor could be filled with water, and full-size ships could be maneuvered within the space for these elaborate spectacles. This showcased not only the ingenuity of Roman engineering, but also the wealth and power of the empire. Apart from gladiatorial games, the Colosseum hosted various other public spectacles such as animal hunts, venationes, in which exotic animals like lions, elephants, and bears were brought from far-flung corners of the empire to be hunted by specially trained fighters called venatores. These events showcased Rome's ability to control and dominate nature, as well as its vast and diverse territories. Executions and other forms of punishment were also carried out in the Colosseum. Condemned criminals might be executed in a variety of ways, from being crucified or burned alive to being thrown to wild beasts in the arena. These spectacles served as a form of entertainment for the masses and a stark reminder of the consequences of challenging Roman authority. Despite its use for brutal and violent spectacles, the Colosseum also hosted cultural and artistic events, such as plays, orations, and even reenactments of famous battles from Roman history. This mix of entertainment and cultural expression highlights the complex and multifaceted nature of ancient Roman society. Ancient Rome was known for its harsh and often brutal punishment methods. These punishments served as a means of maintaining order, asserting authority, and deterring criminal behavior in a vast and diverse empire. Some of the most common methods of punishment in ancient Rome included decimation. This brutal form of military punishment was used to instill discipline and loyalty among Roman soldiers. If a unit was found guilty of cowardice, insubordination, or desertion, 1 in 10 soldiers would be selected by lot and then punished, usually by being clubbed or stoned to their grave by their comrades. This punishment not only served as a deterrent, but also reinforced the idea that soldiers were responsible for each other's actions. Condemned criminals were sometimes sentenced to be torn apart by wild animals in the arena. This punishment, which was a popular form of entertainment for the Roman public, often involved the use of exotic animals such as lions, bears, and leopards. These punishment methods in ancient Rome were designed to instill fear, maintain order, and assert the authority of the state. They were a reflection of the harsh realities of life in a vast and diverse empire, and served as a constant reminder of the consequences of challenging Roman power. The decline and eventual collapse of the Roman Empire is a complex and multifaceted subject. There were numerous factors that contributed to Rome's downfall, including political instability, economic decline, and external pressures from invading barbarian tribes. The political structure of Rome underwent significant changes during its decline, with the empire becoming increasingly unstable due to a series of short-lived and ineffective emperors. Coupled with this was a decline in Rome's economic power, caused by excessive taxation, rampant inflation, and a shrinking agricultural base. One of the most significant external factors that contributed to Rome's decline was the constant threat of barbarian invasions. Rome faced increasing pressure from various Germanic tribes, as well as the Huns, who pushed further into Roman territory. This culminated in the sack of Rome by the Visigoths in 410 AD and later by the Vandals in 455 AD. The Western Roman Empire finally fell in 476 AD, when the last Roman emperor, Romulus Augustulus, was deposed by the Germanic chieftain Odoacer. The Eastern Roman Empire, also known as the Byzantine Empire, continued to exist for another 1,000 years until it was conquered by the Ottoman Empire in 1453. Ancient Rome was a civilization of immense power and influence, shaping the course of human history through its architectural, political, and cultural achievements. The lives of gladiators, the grandeur of the Colosseum, and the complexities of Roman society provide a fascinating glimpse into this remarkable civilization. Gladiators, the legendary warriors of ancient Rome, have stolen our imagination for centuries. But how much do we really know about these fighters and the world they inhabited? Today we're going to explore the lesser-known aspects of gladiators' lives, from the myth of the thumbs up and thumbs down to the diverse backgrounds and unique types of gladiators. We'll dive into the intricacies of their training, the high-stakes games they participated in, and the surprising social status they could achieve. Finally, we'll uncover the truth about what happened to gladiators after they left the arena, so let's embark on this journey right now. Welcome to Life's Biggest Questions. To truly understand the gladiators, we need to go back to their origins. The first recorded gladiatorial games took place in 264 BCE, but what prompted the Romans to start organizing these brutal events? The concept of gladiatorial combat can be traced back to the Etruscans, an ancient civilization that predated Rome in the Italian peninsula. The Etruscans held funeral games to honor their deceased warriors, with the belief that the spilling of blood would purify the deceased's soul and help them transition to the afterlife. When Rome conquered the Etruscans, they adopted this practice, and the gladiatorial games were born. Initially, these games were privately funded, and only the elite could organize them. Over time, the games became larger and more frequent, with the Roman state taking over the organization and funding. As their popularity grew, the games transformed into a form of mass entertainment, drawing massive crowds and becoming a symbol of Roman culture. The gladiators themselves came from a diverse range of backgrounds. Many were slaves or prisoners of war, forced into the arena to fight for their lives. However, not all gladiators were forced to fight. Some free men willingly chose this path, either due to a lack of other opportunities or to seek the fame and fortune that successful gladiators could achieve. There were even instances of high-born individuals, such as disgraced aristocrats or bankrupt nobles, becoming gladiators to restore their reputation or settle their debts. In addition to the male gladiators, there were also female gladiators, known as gladiatrix or female gladiator. Although they were not as common as their male counterparts, these women fought in the arena with just as much skill and ferocity. Their presence challenged societal norms and added another layer of intrigue to the already world of gladiatorial combat. Gladiator training was a rigorous and demanding process. Aspiring gladiators entered specialized schools called ludi, where they were placed under the supervision of a lanista, a gladiator trainer and manager. The lanista was responsible for the gladiators' well-being, training, and eventual participation in the games. In these schools, gladiators trained for hours each day, focusing on strength, agility, and endurance. They learned various combat techniques, how to handle different weapons, and developed strategies to counter the unique fighting styles of other gladiator types. In addition to physical training, gladiators were also taught discipline, obedience, and the importance of putting on a good show for the audience. The ludi varied in size and prestige, with some being small, local schools, and others being massive, state-funded institutions. The most famous gladiatorial school was the Ludus Magnus in Rome. It was the largest of the 4 gladiatorial schools in the city and was connected to the Colosseum by an underground tunnel. This allowed gladiators to enter the arena without being seen by the audience, heightening the suspense and anticipation. Life in a ludus was harsh and unforgiving. Gladiators lived in cramped shared quarters and were subject to strict rules and discipline. Despite the challenging conditions, gladiators were well fed and received medical care from skilled doctors who specialized in treating combat-related injuries. This ensured that the gladiators were in top physical condition and ready for their next battle. During their time in the ludus, gladiators were often divided into groups based on their skill level and experience. New recruits, known as octorati, trained separately from the more experienced fighters. As they improved and demonstrated their prowess, they would be promoted within the ranks and eventually earn the chance to fight in the arena. The ultimate goal for every gladiator was to gain enough victories and fame to earn their freedom, a prize known as the rudis. This wooden sword symbolized a gladiator's release from their obligation to fight and marked the beginning of a new chapter in their lives. The world of Roman gladiators was diverse, with many different types of fighters, each with their own unique fighting styles, weapons, and armor. This diversity made the gladiatorial games even more thrilling for the spectators, as they eagerly awaited the exciting matchups and unpredictability of the battles. Let's take a closer look at some of the most famous types of gladiators. This type of gladiator was armed with a gladius, short sword, and a large rectangular scutum, shield. They wore a helmet with a distinctive fish-shaped crest and a visor to protect their face. Murmillos were often pitted against other heavily armed gladiators, such as the secutor or the hoplomachus. The retiarius was unique among gladiators due to their choice of weapons. They fought with a trident and a net, which they used to ensnare their opponents before striking with the trident. They were lightly armored, wearing only an arm guard and a shoulder guard, allowing them to rely on speed and agility. Their typical opponents were heavily armed gladiators like the murmillo or secutor. This gladiator type was inspired by the Thracians, a group of warriors from the Balkans. The Thracians fought with a short, curved sword called a sika and a small rectangular shield. They wore a helmet with a distinctive griffin crest and leg greaves for protection. Thracian gladiators were commonly matched against the murmillo or hoplomachus. Modeled after Greek hoplites, the hoplomachus was equipped with a spear, a short sword, and a small round shield. They wore a helmet with a small crest and plume along with arm and leg guards. Their opponents were often the murmillo or the Thracians. Designed specifically to fight the retiarius, the secutor was a heavily armored gladiator. They wielded a gladius and a large rectangular shield, and wore a helmet with a smooth, rounded shape to prevent the retiarius net from catching. Their armor and weaponry were similar to the murmillos, but their role in the arena was tailored to countering the retiarius' unique fighting style. Though not traditional gladiators, the bestiarii fought against wild animals in the arena. They were often criminals or prisoners who were sentenced to fight beasts as a form of punishment. However, some bestiarii were skilled animal trainers who voluntarily entered the arena, using their knowledge of animal behavior to defeat their opponents and entertain the crowds. These are just a few examples of the many types of gladiators who fought in ancient Rome. The variety of fighting styles, weapons, and armor created a complex and dynamic environment in the arena, where the outcome of each battle was never certain. This diversity, along with the bravery and skill of the gladiators, contributed to the enduring fascination with these warriors and the games in which they fought. While the life of a gladiator was fraught with danger and uncertainty, those who found success in the arena could achieve a level of fame and fortune that few others in ancient Rome could match. Despite the stigma attached to being a gladiator, especially for those who were slaves or prisoners, a successful gladiator could rise above their circumstances and attain a high social status that was both alluring and lucrative. A victorious gladiator would often receive financial rewards in addition to the adulation of the crowd. As their fame grew, so too did their earning potential. Successful gladiators could be paid handsomely for their performances, with some even receiving sponsorship deals from wealthy patrons or business owners who sought to capitalize on their popularity. Gladiators' fame also extended to their personal lives. as they became objects of fascination and desire for both men and women. They were often depicted in artwork, such as frescoes and mosaics, and their exploits were commemorated in inscriptions and poetry. The adoration they received could sometimes even translate into political influence, with powerful individuals seeking to associate themselves with these popular figures. However, it's essential to recognize that this high social status was not guaranteed for all gladiators, and it hinged on their success in the arena. Those who struggled or failed to win the favor of the crowd often faced a life of hardship and an untimely passing. For a gladiator, the risks were high, but the potential rewards were just as great. Now let's talk about the thumbs up and thumbs down myth. Contrary to popular belief, these gestures weren't used to decide a defeated gladiator's fate. Instead, a raised thumb meant mercy, while a turned thumb indicated death. It's fascinating how this misconception has persisted throughout history and even made its way into modern pop culture. The gladiator games, known as munera, were a central part of Roman entertainment and culture, showcasing the strength and skill of these warriors while providing a spectacle for the masses. Held in large arenas across the empire, the most famous of which was the Colosseum in Rome, these games were grand, elaborate events that captured the attention of the entire city. A typical day at the games would begin with a morning session called the Venatio, which featured wild animal hunts and fights. Exotic animals from across the empire, such as lions, tigers, bears, and elephants, were brought in to face off against each other, or against specially trained fighters known as bestiarii. These events demonstrated Rome's power and wealth, as they showcased the vast reach of the empire and its ability to control nature. In the afternoon, the main event of the day would commence, the gladiatorial battles. Gladiators with varying fighting styles, weapons, and armor would face off against each other in exciting, unpredictable matches. The crowd would cheer for their favorite fighters and place bets on the outcomes, making the atmosphere in the arena electric. Wealthy individuals or politicians known as aediles sponsored the games as a way to gain public favor and demonstrate their wealth and power. These sponsors would pay for the gladiators, the animals, and even the lavish spectacles that accompanied the games, such as reenactments of famous battles or naval engagements in flooded arenas. The more impressive the games, the more prestige the sponsor could garner. And this often led to an escalating competition among the elite to host the most spectacular games possible. As the Roman Empire began to decline, the gladiator games also started to lose their prominence. The costs of hosting the games became increasingly difficult to justify, and public sentiment towards the violence of the games began to shift. Eventually, the games were banned by the Emperor Honorius in 404 CE, marking the end of an era in Roman entertainment and culture. Finally, let's talk about what happened when a gladiator retired. Some were granted a special tombstone, known as a gladiator's epitaph, to honor their achievements. These tombstones often included details about their career, such as the number of victories and the types of opponents they defeated. Retirement marked the end of a dangerous yet prestigious career for these warriors. And there you have it. The lives of Roman gladiators were far more complex and nuanced than we often realize. Through our exploration of their unique fighting styles, the intensity of their training, and the spectacle of the games themselves, we've gained a deeper understanding of these legendary warriors. Furthermore, we've uncovered how gladiators could rise to high social status and even retire from their brutal careers, a testament to their adaptability and resilience. As we continue to learn more about the past, it's essential to challenge our preconceived notions and appreciate the rich and intricate tapestry of history. And as always, thanks for watching.